Hi, welcome to the Bougie and Backpack podcast. My name is Angel Trin, and I'm the co-founder of Bougie and Backpack. So my handle is at Pennywise Traveler, and I'm so excited for you to be here today. So we just finished the January 2025 version of our Bougie and Backpack virtual summit, and I have one of our guest speakers today here. Hi, Luba. How are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm good. Do you want to give a short description about yourself and what you talked about during the virtual summit?
Sure. Yeah. So my name's Luba, and I've been traveling pretty much ever since I was born. My parents went through two immigrations, and then from Canada, I actually went and decided to get on a one-way ticket to Costa Rica. And I've been living there pretty much, well, I can't say full-time because I travel a lot, but I've been living there for a long time. And my presentation was about how to make that work, like long trips and how to travel with a purpose and how to find community within your travels, make it affordable and make it something that really impacts the world and yourself.
Amazing. So one of the things you talked about was home exchange. Do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, home exchange. I've been on the platform for 8 years now. They send you a recap every year. And last year, we hosted 67 guests. And yeah, it's a really, really great platform. The reason I love it is it allows me to travel for a lot longer. Like right now, I'm on a 9-month trip. So I'm on a 9-month trip with my whole family. So there's 5 of us, my husband, as well as 3 children. And the only way that would be possible is by doing home exchange. So for anyone who does not know, basically what it is it's a platform that connects people that are hosts and guests. And so when you host people, you receive guest points. And then when you are a guest, you use your guest points. So that there's no money exchange in it. It's just a way to be able to connect to like-minded individuals. The only money that actually does get exchanged is there is a membership fee, which covers your insurance and your support and things like that. But it's a really great way to get to know the world and different places and really feel like when you're on the ground, you feel like you're a local because you're staying in someone's home. You get a local's connection and, all their to-dos and all that. So it's a really great way to be able to last for a longer time without needing to worry about the costs of accommodation.
That's amazing. So it's pretty much like Airbnb, but you're exchanging your house for somebody else.
Yeah. So it's exactly like that. And you can do a couple of different ways of exchanging. Like if I wanted to go to your home and you wanted to come to my home at the same time, that's pretty easy. We don't need to actually have points. We just exchange directly. Or if you wanted to come to my home and then I have somewhere else to go and I want to come to your home later, then that can be arranged as well. Or if we're like, you want to come to my home, but I want to go to someone else's home, then that's where the points exchange comes in. So there's different ways to do it, but it's makes it very, very flexible and really, it just opens up the world. It's like a brand new door. It's quite amazing.
No, that makes a lot of sense because for some people who don't want to use their credit card points towards like hotel stays, this is a good alternative. So if you want to save your credit card points maybe to book flights instead, this is a good way to instead of use these points, like look into home exchange where you can exchange your home for someone else. And then they can, you don't have to use your points towards like hotel. You can just use a home exchange for your housing and then your credit card points strictly for airline miles and stuff.
Totally. Yeah. So the only thing that you actually obviously need to be able to be part of the platform is you need to have either a room or a home to exchange. And a lot of people also have what's called a hospitality stay. So if you have like a spare room in your home, you don't actually even need to leave your house at the same time. A lot of people just like host people while they're there, just like on Airbnb. Sometimes you have like a spare room and then you hosted just in that room. It doesn't even need to be like a separate entrance or anything. It just needs to be clear what it is, obviously. But you're totally able to stay home, collect points, and then save them up for your vacation. And then when you're off, you've got all these new options. There's about 200,000 homes right now on the platform. So there's a lot to choose from, and they're all over the world. The quality of homes is really amazing, actually. I would say it's very similar to Airbnb standards.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, because I've never actually tried it myself or met someone that does it before. So this is a very good concept to look into. So for exchange, have you done it mostly when you were away or when you were in the house and then the person had the spare bedroom?
So I've always done it when I'm away for myself, just because we're a family of 5. So it leaves very little room for people to be with us when we're there. I run a hotel, so I have the privilege of having lots of different listings on home exchange. I actually have like 6 listings. So we get points quite regularly, which is awesome. So it's not quite the same as what you're thinking about. I do have a main home, and then I also have like different listings at the hotel. So it just, my points come in quite a lot, which is nice. But even without that, before we had the hotel, we were getting tons of points because we had a destination. It's Costa Rica. I live in Costa Rica, right? So people were always interested whenever we were gone, the house would be full pretty much.
That's pretty nice. So when you have your house on home exchange, how do you feel about like your prized possessions? Because I would feel nervous because like your laptop is there, you might have a safe, you might have all these precious like items, like even like a purse or so. How do you protect those precious items?
Right. So a lot of movies ask this question. It's very, very normal to kind of feel nervous about your personal belongings. So there's a couple of ways that you can go about it. The first time when we did home exchange and we were feeling the exact same way, what we did is we actually locked up one of the closets with all our valuables in it. And then that way it just stayed locked, and we put a sign on the door, do not enter. Not that they could, because, they're not going to break into the closet or anything, but locking it up, putting a sign up, sufficient, right? After we kept going and saw other people's houses, now we've done 120 exchanges, I think, roughly on the platform. Like we don't care anymore because, it's been so long, but we've noticed that nothing's ever taken that's not meant to. And we just made it very clear about areas that are off limits and areas that are on limits, and just kind of kept it at that. So if there's any like really valuable china or maybe some supplements or whatever that you don't want to be sharing, then you can just like put a do not touch sign on the shelf or on the box or whatever it is. And people definitely respect it. I would say it's actually, I do both Airbnb as well as I do home exchange. And I enjoy our home exchange guests a lot more. I feel like they're a lot more invested because they're invested in the platform. They're not just giving you money for something. They actually are invested in the idea and in the community. So the trust level is a lot higher. In Airbnb, sometimes you find guests are like, well, I paid for it, so whatever. Their attitude is different. Whereas this, because it is not a money amount that's being exchanged, it's actually a trust thing that's being exchanged. People are a lot more trustworthy and they want to live up to those expectations. So our experiences with guests have been way, way better with home exchanges versus Airbnb.
Oh, that's amazing. So for like home exchange, when you go to other places, do you normally see like normal kitchen appliances that people have? Like, do they have an instant pot, air fryer, all the basic, like maybe even a blender? Do they list that beforehand so you can choose a specific house that has a specific appliances?
Totally. So there's many, many filters. Just like on Airbnb, you can filter things that are really important to you, and you can see all the amenities before you go. Some of the filters are, for example, for me, I use the child-friendly one a lot, so that I come to a place, there's usually books and things like that, and just people that are willing to have children. Because some people have like, $2 million, $3 million homes. They don't want kids in there, and that's fine. So they don't take off the filter for available for children, for example, right? So there's different ways that you can look through for the place that you want, and there's definitely lots of amenities to choose from as well. So like, let's say if a pool is really important to you, or the jacuzzi is important to you, or you want to be countryside, beachside, whatever it is, you can put that into the search results, and then you'll find the homes that best.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So like in this sense, it's kind of like you don't really feel like because you know how like when people do long-term stays, one of the main concerns is about like kitchen appliances, how I'm going to stay there, because you think of hotels, not all of the hotels have like normal kitchen appliances that you can use, like the stove, for example, to cook your own food, the oven. So this makes it very seamless. So if you're doing a long-term stay, if you're like kind of like what you're doing, you're gone for like 9 months, is it like a different house each month you're going to?
So it just kind of depends. It depends. Like, it would be a lot easier if we had a person who wanted to stay in Costa Rica for 9 months and we wanted to go to their house for 9 months. But our trip is actually, first, it's right now in San Diego. Then we're going to go to Europe. Then in Europe, we're going to go to Ireland. And so there's all these different parts of it. So obviously it can't be all the same person that has houses all over the world. So that's where different exchanges come into place. But what I really love about a home exchange, like what you're talking about for a longer stay, it's really convenient because a lot of times you get lots of different perks. Like, I'm talking about a lot more than just like your kitchen appliances that you're looking for. Like, we've gotten cars before, we've gotten like bicycles, like a lot of different things that people are willing to share with you because they also know that when they go to a place that has a spare car, for example, then that's in benefit for them. So they're willing to share. Like, we're going to Ireland for 41 days coming up, and they've given us their car as well. And that was included in the exchange. So now we have 6 people that I don't need to rent a vehicle, which would have cost me, I looked it up, about 6,000 euros for the time frame. That's completely free with the home exchange points that I would have spent on a home anyway.
amazing because it's like for that kind of thing, because it's international, because it's in Ireland. Did you have to get special insurance for that too, to use that person's car also?
So thankfully, my husband has a credit card that already has insurance on it. It's interesting because we didn't technically pay for the home exchange, right? But we paid our membership. So it's something that we need to look into a little bit closer. I think that we can get, if it's an issue, then what we're going to do is, which we've done before, is just get separate insurance just for the car. For example, in Costa Rica, our car is insured. The car is insured. It's not the person that is insured. So it kind of depends on the country. So anyone who's driving my car in Costa Rica is insured. So I need to do a little bit more research on this, but a lot of times that's the case. And in that case, you don't need to worry about it. Other times when we've gone, for example, in Canada, we had to just add ourselves to like the information in the insurance company. So we paid like a $50 fee, and then we used that car for, I don't know how many months. So it just kind of depends on the country. And so you need to understand the legislation and then just work with it.
That's pretty interesting. I didn't realize for Costa Rica that it insures just the whole car as a whole. So I guess that's why a lot of people, they're more open to, like, depending where they live, to let their car just be there because they were paying for it anyway.
Right.
Like, you that kind of sense. But I guess like for me, I would still be kind of scared in case someone scratched the car or damaged the car or
Yeah,
anyway, or car accident. Like that's kind of, I mean, to each their own, right? But that's pretty nice that like they have. I mean, maybe because I feel that way because I haven't used it myself. Maybe that's
right, right.
I feel like once I start using it, if I start using home exchange and I start using other people's car, then I feel like I want to do that as well. So maybe that's
Totally.
that I have.
And sometimes we collect, especially in the beginning, we collected a deposit, for example. So then that way, if anything did happen, it came out of the deposit. We don't need to like go and chase around these people afterwards. So it just kind of depends on your level of comfort, and you can definitely navigate through whatever it is. These are all very typical ways of feeling. And obviously the more that you use it, the more you kind of you let go and relax more. Definitely. I mean, now we're at like I said, we're at so many exchanges. We're like, yeah, sure, great, let's go, because we haven't had bad experiences, and so it drives your confidence up with the system, of course.
So I'm just curious. So when you go to this home exchange because it's someone else's home, do you first, like, I don't know if it's a comfort thing, would you clean that home first, or do you just take it as is? Is it usually pretty clean itself?
It's always cleaned beforehand. I've never come into a home that isn't clean. Sometimes there is a cleaning fee, especially in the United States.
Mhm.
There's the cleaning fees for the sizes of houses that I look for because of my family size. We look for like at least 3 bedrooms. Usually the cleaning fees, they're the normal cleaning fees ranging between $200, $300, depending on the size of the home. And so we pay it as well. So then that way, when people come back, their house is clean for them. And I prefer it that way. I prefer to pay a cleaning fee versus to try to clean it ourselves first, because I have 3 children and that would be crazy to try to navigate leaving and cleaning at the same time. When we were just traveling, when it was just me, or when it was like me and my husband, sometimes we would just go and clean ourselves and it would be fine. Sometimes you get a choice. Sometimes it's like, no, there's no choice. You pay the cleaning fee or you don't get my house. And I respect that. Like, that's how I run my house in Costa Rica. I found
Mhm.
that, like, if I let people clean by themselves, the cleaning standards are different. What you think is clean might not be the same as what I expect. So then sometimes we came into a house where we weren't happy with the results, and the people thought that they did a great job. So instead of navigating that situation, because it can get a little messy, literally, we just decided to just have a cleaning fee. And so luckily in Costa Rica, things are a lot cheaper. So our cleaning fees are like $70, but even in the States, I mean, I'm happy to pay a cleaning fee. I'm staying at someone's house for usually 2, 3 weeks. And so $250 is not a big deal.
Mhm. So when you have the cleaning fee, does home exchange, do they have a list of cleaners that you can choose from, or do you have to go find your own? You have to go
It's
find your own.
totally on your own. It's your own cleaners. Yeah, it has nothing to do with home exchange. It's, something that you need to have an agreement beforehand before you confirm
Mm.
exchange. It needs to be in your description. Like, it needs to be really clear that you collect the money yourself. Home exchange does not collect that for you at all.
Okay, that's interesting. Because I wonder if people were to do this themselves, would they just hire? 'Cause you know how, like, I don't know if you're familiar with TaskRabbit, where you assign someone like a task and stuff, like to clean your home. I wonder if people would do that if they easily need to find a cleaner right after someone has left, or they have someone that they trust that they can clean the home. Like, I'm just
Usually, yeah.
yeah.
Usually people have like their own cleaner that they're used to, and that's what
Mhm.
they prefer to use. And that's the case in my case. Like, I have my cleaner, she knows my house. I don't need to like think of a new cleaner every time or anything like that. Like, I always go to the same person, and I'm able to pay her because I get them money from my guests and then I give it straight to her.
Okay, that's interesting. How long is the gap in between? Like usually when you host one person, would you wait like 2 or 3 days to have your cleaner enough time to see if like, because in case she's busy on Thursday, she comes on Friday or Saturday and then host another family again? Is that like how you usually space out your stays when because you're gone for so long, for like nine
Right.
months?
Usually what I would do is if I get a new request before, like, let's say if I have someone moving out today and I have a request for tomorrow, before I confirm a request for tomorrow, I would contact my cleaner first, make sure that she can actually turn it around in that time frame. If she can't, then I would just say, I need an extra however many days. So before confirming an exchange, I would personally confirm with my cleaner first to make sure that it could be ready. Like the worst for me would be to walk into a place that isn't ready for me, right? And so I don't want to do that to someone else as well. We always make sure that everything is left in the condition that I'm to walk into ourselves as well, right? So that's what I mean by like a community building platform. I really feel like people look out for each other a lot more and they really put each other in each other's shoes because you really literally are in each other's shoes, right? Like you're living at someone's home. And so it's really important to treat it that way and to treat it with love and respect.
I'm just curious if this is how it works. Like, you know how like for hotels usually tip for housekeeping and so do they tip for house sitters too, or is it just because it's like the preface is the understanding is that you go to someone else's home? Do you have a tip or anything? I'm just curious of how it works for like do you think
People like to leave their guests or hosts gifts. So we've seen that a lot. So like when people come from Canada, they sometimes bring like maple syrup or like ice wine or, something that signifies their country, especially when they're traveling internationally. So they'll do that. At our house in Costa Rica, for example, like we welcome people with like, let's say like a basket of local fruit or whatever it is, like something nice that is local and or represents the country that you're coming from as a guest. And then that way you have the chance to actually like, exchange things like that. But that's not necessary. And, sometimes in between stays, for example, like if we have back-to-back stays, that's not always possible. And that's okay. People don't expect it, but it's just a nice gesture.
And it's an easy way to communicate to the person, right? So like when you exchange someone in home exchange, do you have their phone number and email or is it just straight through home exchange?
You have everything. Once you finalize, you have everything. Before you finalize, you have their, just like you communicate just like on Airbnb, you can send these messages, right? And then after you finalize, just like on Airbnb, you get access to their email and their phone number and everything. So what I do is first my communication is on home exchange. Once we finalize, I like to send all my check-in instructions on WhatsApp. It includes pictures, it includes, all the things that I need to do, house manuals and stuff. So that goes straight to their WhatsApp. And then that way they have it easy on their phone. They don't need to go into the home exchange app. And then usually the communication would continue on WhatsApp unless it's something that's like very important. And then I would note it on the home exchange just so it's in there in case, whatever happens. Like if it's something that I need the home exchange platform to know about, then it's in there to be able to verify the communication. Because obviously they can't verify communication if it's on WhatsApp.
No, that makes sense. So for a home exchange, does that also let you call the person too or no? Or is it just like messages? Also,
only after your exchange is finalized.
Okay, so before the exchange, it's just like normal, like message someone like on Instagram or so, like
not Instagram, on home exchange platform.
Right, so but like similar, like in that sense, where you can message a person, but you can't like nowadays Instagram you can call after you send the initial message, but it's like if someone like so let's say Uber for example, because Uber you can't like after that happens and stuff, you can just chat the person back and forth and everything, and then if you do choose so afterwards, when you get the confirmation, then you can call them, like in that sense.
So same thing, and Airbnb does the same thing, right? Airbnb actually blocks emails and phone numbers from being exchanged prior to an exchange is finalized. Like they'll literally block it out. And so home exchange doesn't go that far because you can write to someone your number and then you can have a conversation with them. Like you can ask your host, like I've done that before. I said, I have lots of questions. Can we have a phone call? And then they'll say, yes, here's my number. So it will not get blocked on home exchange like it does on Airbnb. However, like the chat is only available through the system, and then it unlocks the full contact information after you finalize, unless you request it through the chat, and then they can put in their number.
Can you call someone through home exchange, but like not their phone number, but call it through the app itself? Well, you can. Okay.
Yeah, but there is a call button, and it like will redirect you to your own phone.
Okay.
Or to your WhatsApp or to your Skype or whatever you use to call.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because I know that for some people, like they let's say like they're traveling internationally, where they have, for example, like T-Mobile, right? It's like you get free like roaming for data and stuff, but you don't have free calls. So I'm just curious if people would just do that instead, where they will call the person through the app. But I guess the workaround that is that if they can't call through home exchange, but they have data like traveling overseas, you get their WhatsApp number, like you said, like the workaround. So
Yeah,
if you don't pay for like calling fees, like because it gets really expensive when you call
totally.
someone versus if you do it through data, like let's say like you did it through WhatsApp or somewhere else, like maybe even Facebook Messenger or like Instagram where you can call through the app, then they don't have to pay because it's considered part of the internet, like, for
Right.
roam.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I get their WhatsApp always, because I know that when they're traveling, they're probably not going to receive my text messages if it goes directly to their, T-Mobile or whatever.
Mhm.
When it's on WhatsApp, I also tell them like our communication is going to be through WhatsApp. So like, check into there if you need to contact me. I'm available through that. I mean, I'm traveling myself right now. I actually don't have like an American landline or a cell phone right now. My husband does, but I don't. So I'm still just using WhatsApp and my Costa Rican number.
Mhm.
And so that's why I feel like that's the best way to contact people. And that's why I always ask for their WhatsApp.
Okay, that makes sense. So like at least people have like the general like understanding of if they choose to use home exchange, like what it will look like.
It's not just for like home exchanging. Like, for example, we actually did our wedding on home exchange. So
Yeah.
it was really, really amazing. So you obviously need to have agreements beforehand, right? It's all about agreements. It's all about trust. It's all about respect for the people's homes. So it's not like you can just go and show up and throw your wedding at a person's home if you haven't notified them. No. But beforehand, we found it amazing. We wanted to have a destination wedding because our family is mostly in Vancouver and in San Diego. We chose the kind of like halfway point. So we ended up having it in Sandy, Oregon. And we found a beautiful home that we really loved their backyard and fit our family. And so we contacted them and said, we're really interested in having a wedding here. How would you feel about that? And they actually agreed. They agreed with obviously with the mindset of we're going to increase our cleaning fee, which is totally fair. But other than that, we gave them home exchange points. And so we actually ended up having our wedding, like beautiful outdoor wedding on home exchange. And so it saved me, I don't know how many thousands of dollars for paying for a venue, right? All I had to do, it was great because the host actually helped me a lot as well, finding like the different things that I needed to find. So I was able to find like someone local to help me with the setup and things like that. So I think in total, I spent maybe 1,000 or two on the wedding in total. And that's including like my dress and everything already. And so we cooked ourselves and, we did a lot of things ourselves. So it was really great. But like, it was like fraction of the cost from what it would have been. Now, like I said, it's all about the agreements beforehand. I don't recommend just going and throwing a wedding. It's something you need to discuss with your host prior to. Some hosts are going to be okay with it. Another host might say, my house isn't right for this. And then you move on, right? So it can be for family reunions. It can be for whatever like summits that you're doing or retreats. I've seen people do art retreats with it. One of my friends throws art retreats all over BC, finding different houses and doing it that way. So there's a lot more that you can do with it versus just like a holiday getaway or, a vacation stay or whatever it is.
That's amazing. So, like, tell us the process of like planning a wedding through home exchange. Like, how long did it take? Like, how many different No, because people they want to know because it's just
Yeah.
like a story. Like,
Yeah, totally. It was so much fun.
how many people did you contact? Was it just one? You're like, no, that's the wedding venue, or like, how many? Like,
Pretty much.
what's your whole story? Because people want to like these are the stories that people want to hear. Like, how you,
Totally.
yeah.
It was, we probably did it about, I want to say about 8 months in advance, because obviously, with weddings, especially destinations, you need to give people a heads up. You can't just be like, tomorrow, show up here. I mean, unless you're eloping. But anyway, so it was about 8 months in advance that we started contacting people. And I think I only found like 2 or 3 houses in the area. And when I looked closer at them, there was only one that I was really interested in because it had a big backyard. I wanted an outdoor wedding and I wanted something that was child friendly. So they actually had like a little playground outside and it was just like a beautiful kitchen because I knew that I wanted to have home cooked instead of like a vendor or whatever coming in. So it was really lucky that the person said yes and that they were willing to communicate. It took a lot of messages to communicate because I needed to know about things like, oh, do you have speakers outside and blah, blah, blah. And, can you walk me through this kitchen? And do you have these dishes? And, so There was a lot more to it than like a normal home exchange. It wasn't as simple because there was a lot of questions, but we were able to go through it all and have a good experience with it. We invited 30 guests, which was our maximum. We told them we agreed to a maximum beforehand. So they said, please don't, we're not comfortable with more than 30. They gave me a time when the music needs to be off at, so there were agreements that were made beforehand so that everyone feels comfortable, respected, and honored. And then when the day came, obviously we kept all those agreements, and it was a breeze. It was lots of fun. It was a very much like a homemade wedding. Yes, we did have like one person who helped us with all the setup, meaning that they came in, they were a local, they put in all the tables and the chairs and the tablecloths, and because obviously people don't have that kind of stuff lying around. They brought in like the teacups and just like all the things, the plates and cutleries, and the seats for the outside where we had like a triangular thing that we got married under. And so they set up the whole thing for us, but we went and we picked the wildflowers ourselves and put the centerpieces ourselves and cooked. My whole family arrived early. I was a big house. It was like I want to say 5-bedroom house or something. So we were all able to gather, like my immediate family gathered for about a week prior to the wedding. So we started off with making, all the preparations that needed to be made. But it was very much like a trust game, because I was like, as a lot of brides would be like trying to like micromanage things. Like I couldn't. I've never been to Sandy, Oregon. I've never been to this part. And so it was complete surrender. It was complete trust. It was like, okay, I know everything's going to be fine. I know it's going to work out. My family's going to be there and it's going to be great. And it was. There were definitely challenges, but we overcame all the challenges. Like one of the challenges was they locked their mailbox, and Amazon delivered the flower girls' dresses into the mailbox, even though they're supposed to drop it off at the front door. And so we didn't have the flower girl dresses. So we just had to manage and, change things up a little bit. But so the little things happen, and that's fine. Just like in life, there will be hiccups, and it's like, well, how do you go beyond that? What do you do next? Right. And so I think it was like the least stressful wedding ever, though. Like I never, how sometimes they call bridezilla and like all that like, no, none of that happened. Like it was a cheerful, joyful, non-stressful time. I felt like I was completely taken care of by my family and by the hosts, and I had all the resources I needed. So it was just like a really great wedding.
That's amazing. So like you literally just got there like almost like a week before for your family, and then you just order stuff from Amazon because you're giving your example of ordering Amazon the flower girl dresses. Did you order pretty much like 90% of the stuff from Amazon just to get shipped that week? Like for
not 90%, like some things we brought along, and we were actually coming from San Diego. We drove up. It was part of our trip. So we had a car, we had a van. So a lot of things were like in our car that we needed. And my family came from Vancouver. One of my family members actually does catering. So she had like a lot of the big trays that she just put in her car. And so like it's not something that probably anyone would be able to do, or they'd need to be able to, be connected to a local who has all the pieces that they would need for this. Because when you're serving a wedding, you're not going to say you're not going to have dinner at my wedding. That's not going to happen, right? You still need to think about all the things, but it was just a lot. It was almost a lot easier because I had to let go of so much and just trust that it was going to work out. It didn't give me space to like micromanage everything. It was just like a trust exercise, and I really enjoyed it. It was way less stressful, and everything worked out.
But it's such an interesting take, because it's like you think about how much money that people spend on weddings and everything. Right? And yours was literally through home exchange. And then like for yours, you did it so DIY, which I like, because it shows that people like you can do this. You don't need to have expensive thinger. So like you literally used your resources. You had a family member that does catering. You're like, okay, bring all the big pans and utensils or whatever I need, because this house doesn't have what I need. Anything else I don't have, I'm gonna get an Amazon Prime is in 2 days. It will ship to that place. And how long did you have the wedding venue for? So like you had it the week before the wedding and the week after the wedding. So like how long was it?
I think it was a 10-day stretch. So we had it about for a week beforehand and then a couple days afterwards.
So you had like some wiggle room, like just in case or anything. And during the 10-day stay, was your family members, all 30 people, with you the whole time?
No. Just my immediate family was staying with us at the house.
Yeah, that's a big house. Like, 10 days, you have like a lot of people like that. Yeah. Well, in college, I lived with 56 people in a co-op, so that's why I know how big you could get like
Yes.
with that. That's why I was curious. So like when you had the wedding, so like you literally had the whole 10-day stay was about like immediate family, about 10 people more or less.
It was more than 10 people. It was like my parents too. Um, let's see, I would say it was about 12, 13-ish people that were
Like
staying with us at their house.
so half the wedding party. So like when you coordinated with the home exchange person, you told them like, hey, half the people from the 30 people are gonna be here beforehand just because they need to help me set up for everything, and then the remaining 15 people or so will just be that day when we have the actual wedding itself. Okay, so that's a good thing to like know, because like when you're coordinating with someone, you're just letting them know like, hey, I'm just gonna have a few extra guesses beforehand, and during the actual day itself, it's not gonna be, because then like some people they're not comfortable with 30 people in their house for like
All
10
the time
days.
for 10 days.
Yeah. That's why I was more curious if like you had it like the whole time to have like the wedding stuff. But this is so interesting. So it's like, did you hire a wedding coordinator at all, or just DIY everything?
So we hired the person that brought in like the tables and stuff. We did hire, like I said, it was like a local person that brought in the pieces that we didn't have. And that was like on my bill with them was like $600, I want to say. And that was like for like the wedding arch and for like all the tables, cloths, all the
Mhm.
things that we didn't have. But other than
Okay.
that, like
Yeah.
we brought things ourselves. We cooked. I mean, there was obviously a grocery bill, but you know, the grocery bill actually went a lot further than expected because we got so much food that we had enough for after the wedding as well. And so it ended up just like lasting way more. And my dad was like on the barbecue, and so you know, it was very very personal. And I actually enjoyed that a lot more because it felt like every single person had a contribution to the wedding. It wasn't just like show up, enjoy, and leave. And so like we didn't get presents, and I didn't want presents. I wanted people's present, like their own presence. You know, like being there was and contributing was what I wanted.
No, this is a very interesting take, because it's like instead of like you think of like people have their wedding registry and stuff, yours was like, hey, you help me set me up for this wedding, you don't pay anything, which
Yeah,
is good too, because it's like a different perspective. Because like a lot of people when they go to weddings and stuff, it gets very expensive. You know, like you have to buy like the plane ticket, you have to buy the hotel, you have to buy like, you know, like clothes for the actual event itself if it's like a specific color, because you know some weddings are specific color coordinated. They need to buy a wedding gift for the bride and the groom. But in your sense, it was like, hey, your wedding gift to me is if you help out volunteer my wedding. And I bet most of the people, if you told them that instead of paying money, I think most people are like, okay, if I only had to volunteer for like a few hours, then like that's better than like buying something, you know, because I'm actually contributing to her wedding itself, and it's more like last logging because it's more memorable to
totally.
have contribution like that.
And everyone contributed in different ways. You know, like one of our things was we didn't want to hire a band, for example. So, but my husband's a musician. So he had friends that are musicians as well. So his musician friends brought over their instruments. And so part of the wedding was my husband walks out on his mandolin. And that was like his walk down the aisle with his mandolin, with his men behind him on the drums, on the guitar. And they were like doing their thing. And then they were standing at the front, and then the flower girls and my little boy came out, and they were like, you know, doing the flower thing while the drums and the guitars and the mandolins were still playing. And I always said that I'm going to dance down the aisle. I'm not walking down an aisle. So I came out and it was like live music for me. And so I got to like dance and do my like, you know, moves coming down. And everyone contributed in a different way. Like the person that was the caterer, she brought all the things that we needed, right? My dad obviously was like helping with the barbecues and you know, so it was just like a lot of different things. One of the guests was like, can I go shopping for you? Because I live in the area and I know how overwhelming that is. Like, send me your list. And I was like, thank you. So that was his contribution, you know? So like different people decided to do different things. Another person was like, hey, I'm actually in touch with someone who makes kombucha. I know you want kombucha at your wedding because we didn't want alcohol. Like we said, you know, if you want alcohol, you can bring your own, but like we're not supplying alcohol. So he was like, okay, cool. Like I know you want kombucha at your wedding. Like can I help you with that part of it? And I said, of course, thank you, you know? So a lot of people got to offer what they want instead of like this whole concept of like, I need to figure it all out. It felt like it was delegated. And it was maybe that's why it was so much less stressful as well.
So when you had the coordinator, did the host recommend it, or you just find someone random online and cast rabbit or like whatever? Like how did
It
you
was
find
very random. So, well, she was very affordable, and I just like
yeah,
put in
how
like
did you find it? Like I want to know
Google,
so if someone
Google,
was to do
Google that.
you literally Googled like what did you Google to find this person to help you
It
about the
was just like I think it was like party decoration, and then I just
yeah,
Googled the area, and then I found like a couple different matches, and I looked at their website because on their website they had like the venues that they've done, and so I can see by their style what I liked, and so they had like a catalog and everything online. So I just like went through the catalog, chose what I want, and then when we arrived, she actually had like a shop as well. So I like came into the shop and I made some changes to what I ordered, but roughly it was like, pretty similar. Added some things and bam, she came over the day of the wedding, like first thing in the morning, and she set everything up and then she broke everything down. We didn't need to do the dishes or anything. Like she just took the dishes and like obviously scraped off the food, but she took all the dishes and took them away. And I was like, voila, everything's clean.
wow, that's pretty nice because it's like this wedding is so. I mean, I like this. This is a very DIY wedding. Like you literally found a home on home exchange. You literally just went to like Amazon or like whatever. I don't have Amazon, whatever. And then whatever's missing from Amazon, this lady that I'm finding from this party decoration, I'm gonna message her and hire her and do the rest for the wedding like setup and everything.
Yeah.
This is it's very interesting. Like I've never
Doing the dishes. That was a huge part for me. I was like, okay, I either need a volunteer to do all the dishes, which would kind of suck because it's going to take a lot of time,
well,
or
the place.
like,
Sure, that's why is that
no, it did, but like, a wedding is a lot of dishes, right?
yeah,
So
for
she
30
took,
dishes. No, 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 I totally get it. Like for 30 dishes, 30
right?
sorry, 30 people and
Yeah.
all the dishes that you use to cook the dishes on top of that. So it's a
Yeah.
lot.
So she just took it all, she brought it all, and she took it as is, and that was it.
And you didn't need to have paper plates. She had her own plates because like that's what I had a friend's friend who got married. It was a out of town wedding. It was in France actually, and she used paper plates. And then the photos were not like she regretted it because she thought like, oh, here I don't have to use the venue's plates. Let me just buy paper plates. And then when the photos came out, it was not
Yeah,
happy.
I was thinking about that, honestly, but my husband was really, really against that. I was going to be like, okay, whatever, let's use that. But he was really against it. He's really like eco-friendly. And like to us, that's like, that was a big deal. And he didn't want to have waste. That was one of the biggest things that he said. I don't want to have a lot of waste. So I said, okay, well, let's see how we can make this work without the waste. So when this person said, yeah, I have all the dishes, whatever you need, I just paid per plate. It was like, I think it was like $1, but I got to choose the design of the plates. She had like 3 or 4 different designs. The utensils that went with it, gold utensils with like the gold rim around, like it was beautiful. Like everything was like as I wanted it. And it was very, very affordable. Like I said, my full bill for this whole setup, tablecloths, everything, arches was like $600, I think. And she took it all up. She put it all up and she took it all away.
Wow. Well, I'm just amazed. Like this wedding is so like budget friendly. Like, like you just literally just went to the grocery store, found a person off like Google for a party planner. And like this is like how this is a very cool concept actually.
Yeah.
Like I've never heard of anyone did anyone ever give you an idea to do this on home exchange? You just thought of it yourself. You're like, this is
No,
a
I
nice
mean,
like
I've done like family kind of like reunions before on home exchange. So I thought, family reunion, wedding, pretty close. We've done lots of birthdays, we've done lots of things like that. So I just had trust, and at that point we had like a lot of exchanges. It was close to 100 at that point. So obviously the hosts knew that like we were experienced and everything like that, and yeah, so they were going to be gone for that time anyway, and so it all went well. And there was like a little thing broken. We replaced it, like it was just like a little honey jar thing that just got smashed in the refrigerator by accident because we put a lot of things in the fridge, as you can imagine. But, again, things like that happen. We replaced it. We moved on. So yeah, it definitely works. There's the sky's the limit with home exchange. That's the really cool part about it. Like you can
yeah.
buy whatever you need with it.
Yeah. It's just yeah, I've never thought of that. It's just like I'm so amazed. Like I never thought about like doing something like that. You're catching this podcast episode because obviously Luba did this presentation during January, and if you missed it, we do have replays available in the show notes, so you can definitely grab a replay to hear more about how Luba uses home exchange more in depth and everything. But this is just one of the examples that she's giving you about how she just used it literally to pay for a wedding, like literally. And where can we find you?
Sure. So you can email me. That's probably the best way to reach me. And it's Luba, Luba .niko, Niko @gmail.com. And that's probably the best way to reach me. If you have any home exchange questions or anything like that, definitely give me a shout and we can talk about it. I love talking about a home exchange. I'm one of the ambassadors there. So it's very easy for me to answer all your questions. And that's probably the best way to contact me. I don't do a lot of Insta. I mean, I do have an Insta, but I don't use it very often. So I'm not going to point people to that. So just email me. That's the best way.
All right, awesome. So definitely email Luba if you have more questions. All right, what's the other website? It was Trusted
Trusted house sitters. Yeah, if
Sure.
you don't have a home for any reason and, or it's unavailable, maybe some people don't have a landlord that's okay with it or whatever, then what also is available is Trusted House Sitters, which is basically you take care of a pet and so you get your accommodations for free. And so that's a different way of doing it if you don't have a way of exchanging homes.
Yeah, and you can definitely learn more about that in her virtual summit. We have replays available in the show notes. All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great day.